What's up? Good morning, everybody. 10 o'clock, an impromptu live stream this morning. We have coming up momentarily as the senators are being seated. I can see them right now. We have the RFK Jr. committee hearing on his confirmation. Now, let me explain that mouthful of stuff I just said to you. There are a lot of people out there posting in our community on X itself, that today is the confirmation hearing. This is not the confirmation hearing. Understand the procedural things that have to happen. This is the committee to determine whether he has the confirmation vote at all. So once you had the hearing, which we televised, you had the hearing where they all asked questions. That was the first step. The next step is you have to be voted out of committee, meaning the committee of 13 Republicans and 12 Democrats have to say, okay, we approve you being able to even get a vote. So today what's happening at 10 a.m. as they're all seated here, these 25 senators are going to determine whether or not they're even going to allow a vote on RFK Jr. If he does not pass committee, if he does not do what is called get voted out of committee, that means you did not survive to go to the full vote. So this is a critical hearing. How critical is this? There's a 2 o'clock hearing today on Tulsi Gabbard. They're not televising that one. That one's going to be in complete private. We're not even going to see what happens in that committee hearing. So these two hearings today, RFK Jr.'s at 10 and then Tulsi's at 2, are merely to determine whether or not we're going to even allow a vote. So it's huge, but you have to understand that distinction. This is not the confirmation hearing. This is the pre-confirmation hearing to see if you even get a chance to be voted on. So it's critical. Now, there is a process where if they don't get the votes today, that they could actually move to do another procedural thing and try to force a vote. And then, of course, you also know about the ability, unlikely ability at this point, to do a recess appointment. So a lot of stuff going on, a whole lot of stuff going on. This isn't one of my regular shows, so I've got the casual dress on right now because I just wanted to get to this. Everybody is being seated. As soon as they are seated, we will go ahead and once they hit the gavel. But I just wanted to lay that down to let you guys know that this is what this is. It's crucial, but it's not the confirmation hearing. That being said, today is going to be a big day, a huge day for me. I'm glad I got my sleep last night. After doing that midnight show, I was like, I just can't go again tonight. So anyway, so today we probably will do 3 broadcasts or 1 or 2 long broadcasts because we've got this. This shouldn't be more than an hour or so. Shouldn't be. Let me just let you see what's going on as they're getting into their seats. Shouldn't be, depending on what kind of fireworks happen, this should be over within 90 minutes. Then, this afternoon, 2 o'clock, Trump is signing a bunch of executive orders. Sometimes the executive orders are signed live, and then sometimes the executive orders are signed not live, but recorded and then broadcast. So I'm going to go live at right about 2 o'clock p.m., and then we'll do my normal afternoon show at 2, and it'll lead right through the executive order signing if it's live, or if it's recorded then it comes out, we'll cut right to it. I'm looking at a text from Ashley. It says the executive orders on Tuesday. There's going to be some serious big executive orders today. Then at 5 o'clock, so we'll either have to do one long show or cut it up. And then at 5 o'clock, he's doing a press conference with Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, which, of course, that will be full of questions from the press. And so we'll see what happens then. And then, of course, 8 o'clock tonight. So I'm rejuvenated, got my cup of beverage here. I'm ready to go. Just waiting for, as you can see, these guys to get seated. As you've seen in sometimes my videos when we're covering this stuff on C-SPAN, every hour and a half or so, it may time out, and I may have to jump to a secondary coverage to make sure it's not missed until I reinstitute the timeout that they put you. So you won't miss anything. I've got 2 or 3 different feeds running. We are ready to go, just waiting for these guys to take their seat. Let me just check the volume real quick. Yep, okay, it's there. Nobody's talking. And that's what's going on. It's so surreal to have a president that actually cares about our country. Tell me about it. If we go to recess appointments, they're only good for 18 months. Then they'll go through the whole thing again. Yep, but imagine this. Good question, or good statement. If these people have to go through by recess appointment, and then they end up doing a great job, what do you think the likelihood of them being, reconfirmed at that point? Pretty good. One thing you can't argue with is success. Well, then again, the Democrats can argue with anything, as we've seen. So today at the afternoon show, we're going to talk about U.S. aid. I am so happy. If you guys remember, I did a show, I believe it was on Sunday. I said, this is the biggest thing in history, and no one's talking about it. No, that was the title of my video. No one in the media is talking about it. And Elon Musk and Trump forced the media to talk about it. And the Democrats have lost their ever-loving minds. I mean, just, wow. And I just, before we jump into this, I want to tell you, what's amazing about all of this is just one agency. I think it was Congressman or Senator Darrell Issa who put out, can you imagine what's next? What are we going to find out next? I can't tell you. I'm looking at the hearing. See, nobody has gavelled it in yet. I'm looking at the chairman, Mike. I think the chairman of this one is Mike Crapo. What a name. But yeah, can you imagine? Raskin and Schumer and Deep Doo-Doo. There's going to be, don't think it's just them. You can almost bet there's going to be a bunch of Republicans who get caught up in all this stuff. Looks like he's about to gavel it in. Haven't seen it in his hands. Well, I can always show you guys. You can see it. He's still sitting there. The USAID, and it's not even supposed to be USAID. It's USAID. Everyone's saying it's aid like it's supposed to help the children, starving children around the world. And it looks like we are ready, so I shall shut up. And let's get to RFK Jr.'s hearing. First thing I want you guys to do is let me know if the volume is okay.
We are still waiting to get all of our members here, and while we wait for that to occur, we will proceed with statements. And I will proceed first, then Senator Wyden, and then we will rotate from one side to the other until we are at a point where we're prepared for the vote. Does that fit with you, Senator Wyden?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kennedy, if confirmed, will have the opportunity to deliver much-needed change to our nation's healthcare system. He has spent his career fighting to end America's chronic illness epidemic and has been a leading advocate for healthcare transparency, both for patients and for taxpayers. Mr. Kennedy has also clearly responded to our questions during the rigorous due diligence process in his hearing also, and in the course of answering over 900 questions for the record that were asked by members of this committee. In response to members of the committee, Mr. Kennedy has even amended his ethics agreement, going beyond what is required by the Government Office of Ethics. Mr. Kennedy has proven his commitment to the role of Secretary of the HHS, and I will vote in favor of his nomination. I strongly encourage my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to do the same. And with that, I recognize our ranking member, Senator Wyden, for his remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'll have a brief statement, and then several of my colleagues on our side are also going to make brief statements. This morning, we're going to vote on Robert Kennedy's nomination to serve as our nation's chief healthcare officer. Before we get to Mr. Kennedy, and why I believe he is singularly unfit to serve as HHS Secretary, I'd like to say this. The last several days we've witnessed an authoritarian takeover of our federal government by Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They have set their sights on a full purge of anyone in government that doesn't bend the knee and followed their orders. They've taken over the Treasury Department's payment system. And colleagues, that has a direct effect on major programs within our committee's jurisdiction that includes Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. For example, this committee voted for a major reform of pharmacy benefit manager legislation. We passed it 26-0, but Trump and Musk killed it. Think what they could do with abuse of the payment system. Now, in my view, much of this is of dubious legality and constitutional authority, and certainly flies in face of congressional responsibilities. I'll wrap up on this point by saying I hope our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will not sit by while Musk and Trump make a mockery of the power Republicans hold in their congressional majority. Now more than ever, the American people need leaders that will stand up to these abuses. That brings me to Mr. Kennedy. A recent analysis showed that Mr. Kennedy has made 114 separate appearances in just the last 4 years where he has espoused anti-vaccine views or spread information about the efficacy of vaccines. Misinformation, specifically. In 36 of those instances, Mr. Kennedy directly linked vaccines to autism. Last week, Mr. Kennedy was given ample authority on a bipartisan basis to recant his decades-long career peddling anti-vaccine conspiracies. Instead, he spent his time with us dodging and weaving and gave no indication that if confirmed as HHS Secretary, he would stand by the long-settled science surrounding routine vaccinations. Just take the Samoa measles outbreak as an example. Mr. Kennedy told me, and I quote, "We don't know what was killing them," speaking about the 83 measles deaths during an outbreak of the disease in 2019. Just yesterday, colleagues, the Director General of Health from Samoa called this claim a total fabrication. Peddling these conspiracy theories as the nation's chief health officer is going to be deadly for kids across the country. On abortion, Mr. Kennedy's answers once again raised still more questions. He refused to tell us whether he would blindly follow a directive from Donald Trump to break the law and end access to mifepristone. And he seemed to have no understanding of his role in enforcing existing federal laws that guarantee women the right to life-saving abortion care. Mr. Kennedy also failed on several occasions to show a basic understanding of the Medicare and Medicaid programs he would be tasked with overseeing. Colleagues, that alone should be disqualifying. Mr. Kennedy has given us no reason to believe he'll be anything other than a rubber stamp for plans to gut Medicaid and rip health care away from the American people, and be a yes man if ordered by Musk or Trump to take an illegal action. I close with this, colleagues. Today, we're going to make a judgment about the future of science in this country. We're going to make decisions that are going to impact the health and well-being of Americans for years to come. I agree, and I say this to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, that the healthcare status quo needs substantial changes so we get better, more affordable care to patients. And that leaves, given my statement, the question in front of us now that's pretty simple. Do senators want their legacy to include disregarding basic health science and instead elevate conspiracy theorists? Making Robert Kennedy Secretary of Health and Human Services, in my view, colleagues, would be a grave threat to the health of the American people. And I urge my colleagues this morning to vote no.
Yeah, then do the comments. 2 or 3 on each, and then
Yeah, we're going to do it.
So Senator Wyden, we have all of our members here. Senator Wyden and I have agreed that we will have 2 or 3 on each side who wanted to make statements do so before the vote. So please, everyone, hold with us while we have those statements made, and then we will proceed to the vote. I know we've got a lot of folks here pushing on some. Do you want to vote now?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I've got several colleagues who were under the impression after we talked that we would have 2 or 3, and I'm happy for both sides to make brief remarks, and I'd still like to stay with that.
I did make that commitment, and so I could say to my colleagues on my side, I would appreciate it if you would hold your remarks until after the vote. We will let a couple on your side have their remarks, and then we will proceed to the vote.
Great, thank you.
And who would be next?
Senator Cantwell.
Senator Cantwell.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I didn't, when you said 2 or 3 people, I didn't know who you had in mind, but being next in seniority, I appreciate the opportunity. Today is very concerning to me because of the future of what I think our nation faces. When I think of this issue, I think of my Pacific Northwest leadership, how Paul Allen, on his own, invested $100 million to fight Ebola. I think of Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation, not just trying to eradicate polio and work on these issues, but to think of a regime that helps not just our nation's health, but global health. So with the UW, the University of Washington, the Cancer Research Center, all of these entities are a collaboration of saying we have to go faster in solving these threats to our nation as it relates to health. Now, we can have a big discussion, which I think you guys all want to have a big discussion about whether and when what happened in the Wuhan province. But I can tell you, we were the first city. We had the first patient. We had the first people who died in nursing homes. We had an emergency room at a hospital who basically was just begging for any equipment we could get them. The whole community stood up and moved as fast as we possibly could and broke down barriers to save lives. And that is what we have to continue to do on innovation. We cannot let another country get ahead of us on some sort of warfare issue and not have a response when it comes to a vaccine. So the most challenging, I wanted to vote for Mr. Kennedy in the context of my family's history. My dad stood behind his father the night his father gave the famous speech. I told him in my office, in my family, the Kennedys stood up. But when he answered Senator Cassidy's question, and he couldn't even give him the answer that, yes, the data is there to support vaccines today. I don't need any more data. All of a sudden, I saw this world that we got affected by in Seattle not being stood up for. I need someone at HHS who is going to say we're going to be a leader in medical technology, science, vaccines. We are going to fight foreign powers. We are going to be there to provide global health. And I don't want a recalcitrant. I need a leader, and that is why I'm voting no.
Thank you. Senator Wyden and I have agreed that Senator Warnock will now speak. Following Senator Warnock, we will proceed to the vote, and then anyone else who wants to make remarks will be allowed to make remarks. Senator Warnock.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. At a rally a few months ago, Donald Trump said that he was going to allow Mr. Robert Kennedy to, quote, go wild on health. Go wild. Of all the things that I can think of that I'd like to see a Secretary of Health and Human Services do, go wild is not on the list. Mr. Robert Kennedy is manifestly unqualified for the job he seeks. And in both my live and written questions for the record, he failed to commit to protecting access to affordable health care, failed to commit to protecting the people who are protecting us. The problem that the CDC has is that every day these noble civil servants and workers protect us from dangers that we don't see. And often you don't get credit for protecting people from things that they don't see. I simply do not trust him to oversee the CDC. He's unqualified, and I dare say everybody here knows it. We need a serious person at the helm of the HHS, an agency responsible for about half of the health of about half of all Americans. Mr. Kennedy appears more obsessed in chasing conspiracy theories than chasing solutions to lower health care costs for working families in Georgia and to make sure that we are protected. The last thing we need is a dilettante dabbling in conspiracy theories at HHS. I cannot vote for a nominee who is not going to lower health care costs for Georgians, who is going to undermine basic science in public health, who puts his own interests above the health and the well-being of others. For the health and well-being of all of our families, the people who count on us to think about them in these rooms of power. I urge all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to look past politics and think of country and to find the moral courage to do what's right. Oppose this nomination.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. We now have not only a quorum, but all members of the committee are present. I move that the committee favorably report the nomination of the Honorable Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. of California to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Grassley.
Aye.
Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Cornyn.
Aye.
Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. Thune.
Aye.
Mr. Thune, aye. Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Scott, aye. Mr. Cassidy.
Aye.
Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mr. Langford.
Aye.
Mr. Langford, aye. Mr. Daines.
Aye.
Mr. Daines, aye. Mr. Young. Mr. Young, aye. Mr. Barrasso. Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. Tillis. Mr. Tillis, aye. Mrs. Blackburn. Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Mr. Marshall. Mr. Marshall, aye. Mr. Wyden.
No.
Mr. Wyden, no. Ms. Cantwell.
No.
Ms. Cantwell, no. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner, no. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse, no. Ms. Hassan. Ms. Hassan, no. Ms. Cortez Masto. Ms. Cortez Masto, no. Ms. Warren.
Cassidy voted yes.
Ms. Warren, no. Mr. Sanders. Mr.
He's-
Sanders, no. Ms. Smith.
We got it.
Ms. Smith, no. Mr. Lujan.
No.
Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Warnock.
No.
Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Welch. Mr. Welch, no. Mr. Chairman. Chairman votes aye.
13-12,
Mr. Chairman, the final tally is 14 ayes, 13 nays.
14-13. Put your mic on, dude. Dude, turn your mic on.
The vote was, would the clerk please restate the vote?
Mr. Chairman, the final tally was 14 ayes, 13 nays.
The vote was 14-13. The nomination is reported favorably. We will now turn to other senators who would like to make a statement. Since I asked my Republican colleagues to hold off at the outset, I'll go to the Republican side next. First, Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I voted aye today, and I want to just briefly explain why. I believe in my 65 years, I'll be 65 in August, that Mr. Kennedy will be one of the first people coming before who is in fact not a trained healthcare expert. He views this through the lens of an attorney. He's brought many lawsuits on food safety, vaccine safety, a number of other things. But Mr. Chair, I think it was Senator Warnock that said that the president said he was going to go wild in the Department of Health and Human Services. I hope he does. I hope he goes wild and actually finds a way to reduce the cost of health care. I hope he goes wild, and instead of having the discussions that we have had for the 10 years that I've been in the Senate of making Medicaid work and making people on Medicaid healthier, I hope he goes wild and figures out how to do it, because the status quo has not achieved much in the way of gain. I hope he goes wild on food safety discussions so that we can actually improve our food safety supply. I hope he goes wild on the healthcare supply chains and, in fact, tries to make sure that drug prices go down instead of bludgeoning pharmaceutical companies, get everybody in the room and make sure that we do this right. reduce the cost of bringing a vaccine to market, reduce the cost of bringing drugs and therapeutics to market, look at the full supply chain, and somebody with a legal mind may do that. He is no health professional. In fact, he's the first, I believe, and since I've been alive, who's not been a healthcare professional in a scientific sense. But he is a professional in terms of carrying this forward and holding people accountable through the courts. But and also, Mr. Chair, I'm not going to go much longer, but I had a lot of people call me earlier. I had people from the agriculture industry call me and express concerns, but I'm not aware of any organized, credible group, the Farm Bureau, the Department of Ag Commissioners, or others, who have said that we should vote against Mr. Kennedy. I heard people express their concerns about his pro-choice position. And yet I haven't seen any pro-life organization score this vote or recommend that we should vote against it. I heard him call the NRA a terrorist organization, and yet the NRA is silent on his confirmation. And so I've heard him say that GMOs are a concern. Hopefully we can convince him that not all GMOs are. It's feeding the world. Corn, drought-resistant strains of healthy vegetables will move on. Protein producers were mad about lawsuits were brought against them, but there's been no organized opposition against them. And so maybe it is time to have a different kind of disruptor there. The only way that Senator Kennedy, the only way that Bobby Kennedy and I will get crosswise is if he does actually take a position against the safety of proven vaccines. That will be a problem for me. He answered a very important question to me during the hearing. I asked him specifically if it was his intent to let the scientists of the CDC, the NIH, BARDA, and other organizations to work independently. He said to me under oath that he would. If he fails to do that, that will be a concern for me and something I'll bring up in a future oversight hearing. But Mr. Chair, we have not made appreciable progress in Medicaid and improving the health of the population on Medicaid. We have a SNAP program that does have too much sugar and things that are eligible in that program that should be eliminated to make these people who are on free and reduced lunch healthier. We need to stop having full trash cans in public school cafeterias full of stuff that the kids aren't eating and figure out how those kids on free and reduced lunch actually have a healthier lifestyle. And so I, for one, think that it is time to put a disruptor in. It is time to put somebody in there that's going to go wild. But there are areas where I think that's exactly what we need. And there are areas of health and human services that if you touch the gold standard for the NIH and the CDC, then I'll have a problem with that nominee, and we'll bring that up during oversight. But it was for those reasons. And the fact is that there's not a single organization that I consider to be credible in this space, in agriculture, in Second Amendment, or in pro-life, who have openly objected and scored this vote. I believe that silence is consent. And the fact that they haven't suggests to me that folks that I'm instructed by are okay with this nomination. And for those reasons, I voted for Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we had our hearing last week, Mr. Kennedy has amended his ethics agreement. Recall that his ethics agreement said that while he was Secretary of HHS, he intended to retain a financial interest in ongoing vaccine litigation that he was already collecting money from, and that he wanted to continue to collect that money even though he could affect the outcome of that litigation. Now, he has since changed his position on that. Once this has been exposed and people have talked about it and have some pretty serious reservations about his doing that, he has said that he will instead give his financial interest to his son. That is a fig leaf that is so small, it would take a magnifying glass to see it. No one is fooled about what's happening here. Mr. Kennedy refuses to say that he will not participate in these lawsuits financially the day after he leaves office. And yet, Mr. Kennedy has acknowledged, first, that the American people have a right to know that the decisions you're making are decisions that are in their interest, not in your future financial interest. He has said he thinks that's the right standard, and yet he has figured out how to make money off his anti-vax positions. He's already raked in $2.5 million. He is in a position where he can affect the outcomes by things he does as Secretary of HHS, and yet he refuses to say that he will delay by even a day taking on anti-vax lawsuits the minute he leaves. That is an appalling conflict of interest, and it's one in which the American people can reasonably ask, is Mr. Kennedy's plan to help the American people, or is he planning to use this job to further enrich himself, and he's pointed out with his son, and enrich his family? The importance of this litigation cannot be overstated. This is not only about a private company that gets sued and has to pay out. Vaccine manufacturers often operate on very slim profit margins. If they get sued repeatedly and successfully, they simply move out of the vaccine space. We've already seen this happen with vaccines in the past. 20 years ago, we watched vaccines just move away if they did not have protection from these kinds of lawsuits. The consequence of Mr. Kennedy's ability to make those lawsuits easier is also the ability to shut down access and manufacturing for vaccines for every one of us. And I think that's a terrible mistake.
Thank you. Senator Welch, did you wish to speak?
I did, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ranking Member, and thank you, Mr. Ranking Member, for your statement. I want a disruptor in the healthcare system and one leading it. I don't want a destroyer. And there's three issues before any nominee that we have to consider. One is character, another is competence, and a third is priorities. We did not have Carolyn Kennedy here, but she gave a statement. And she said that Bobby was able to attract people through the strength of his personality, his willingness to take risk and break the rules. And those might be desirable qualities if it was accompanied by sober judgment and behavior. Because the person who leads a major organization has to have the confidence of the people that work for him. And frankly, some of the things that he did that never explained, a chainsaw taken off the head of a whale, dumping a bear in Central Park for his own amusement. These are just weird things. And we never really got into the character issue of what is required for a person who runs such a major department. The competence question, this is all on a wing and a prayer and a hope. There's no record of Mr. Kennedy having experience in managing a large organization in Medicaid.
All right, so these guys are going to pontificate and talk to themselves because everybody left the room. This is all anticlimactic. So I've seen a lot of questions. I'm going to try and answer them to the best of my ability and to the best of my knowledge. So what we just saw, as I said earlier, is the confirmation of the nomination for the acceleration. It's ridiculous. But the way that things proceed, you get nominated, which Trump did. You have the hearing when the person, RFK Jr., came and answered questions. And then after that is what you just saw next, is getting voted out of committee. In order to get the actual confirmation vote of all the senators, you have to be, in a lack of a better word, approved to be voted on. In order for you to get a vote, we have to prove that you're worthy of getting a vote. So what you just saw was the hearing, or the vote on whether RFK Jr. is approved to get a vote. It is a critical juncture, and the nominee will never get to a vote unless other things happen, unless these people in the committee do what's called get vote out of committee. He just got voted out of committee. So there were 27 people on this committee, and there was a Republican majority of 14 to 13. The 14 Republicans said, we approve RFK Jr. is deserving of a vote of our entire Senate. So now it will move from here to the final vote. The next vote will be the final vote. Now, the lever here everybody was watching was Bill Cassidy. Bill Cassidy had been anti-RFK Jr. up until about 10:05. And he decided yes. So that's why I came on. As soon as Bill Cassidy said yes, I knew it was over. That means it was going to be voted out of committee. So right now, Elizabeth Warren and the rest of them, the blah, 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 they're just putting stuff on the record as if someone's going to go back and read the congressional record or senatorial record, rather. It's on the record that they object. Sort of like a court hearing. I object. And the judge will say noted. That means it's put in the record for history and people can come back and see that XYZ person objected. So now they will set RFK Jr. for his final vote. Today is only Tuesday. There is no reason why this thing couldn't happen by Thursday or Friday. I think they've got that 30-hour waiting time or whatever. So by Thursday or Friday, John Thune could set this to a vote in the Senate. He could. He should. He should push it and do it as fast as possible. So as of right now, we do not know the time and date of the final hearing. That will come very shortly. It'll be publicized, and it should happen before Friday. And at that point, all 100 senators will then vote on his approval. And again, he only needs 50 because then J.D. Vance would break the tie. But from all indications, it seems as though he's going to have the votes to make it. So that's what you just saw. I hope I encapsulated it and let you know. Now, unfortunately, 2 p.m. today is the Tulsi Gabbard committee vote. And they're going to do that in private. I don't know who decided it. I don't know why they're doing it. It's not fair. It should be public. We all should be able to see it. But at 2 p.m., they're going to do the Tulsi Gabbard hearing, and that will be completely private, and we'll just find out through news whether or not she was voted out of committee. So that's what we got this morning. Just a quick jump in here. You saw it. Final summation here is RFK Jr. was voted out of committee 14-13, and now we will wait for the final vote, hopefully by the end of this week. So we're done here for this one. I will be back at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Donald Trump will be signing executive orders, and I'll do my regular show at 2 o'clock, and whenever he comes in, we'll go ahead and break, and then we'll just continue with our show. Then tonight at 5 o'clock, so if we're still on the air, we'll just keep going. 5 o'clock, he's got a press conference with Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. Definitely going to cover that. And then 7 o'clock, I've got Congressman Buddy Carter, who's going to come on, and we're going to interview with Buddy Carter. So it's a long day. So I don't know if the 2 o'clock will last all day, or do we go 2 to 4 and then come back and go 5 to 7? But definitely be back here at at 2 o'clock, and we'll take it from there. Busy day. I love it. I absolutely love it. We're going to talk a lot about USAID as well. So I'll see you at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Oops. I'm back. This is Barry in real time. I forgot to look at super chats if there were any. I mean, this is a short broadcast, so I'm sure we're going to be very quick, but I do want to acknowledge them. Mark Hurley, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Mark. From Canada, Beaten Cheeks too. Funny how 90% of so-called conspiracies turn out to be fact. That is indeed true. Susie Denham, how can these people stand there with all this information being revealed of the theft of their lives, abusive government being uncovered, they're doing business as usual. Thank you, Susie. Yeah, it's sickening. And Ed Powell, thanks, Barry. I don't know how you're keeping up with all this stuff. Give me whatever you're taking. I'm taking my wife's good food, my vitamins, and good sleep. When I put my head down at night, I go to sleep. I sleep. So last night I got about 8 or 9 hours, so I'm good. So again, now we can go 2 p.m. today. I will see you for a full show, and hopefully we will break to Donald Trump signing of executive orders. Thank you.